Okay, so I just got done filming my the 10 days how to get rid of ick and Brookenella in a reef tank. Okay. Now, just do disclaimer on there. The 10 days thing is kind of clickbaity. Okay. You're not going to get your fish back in there in 10 days. Um, but it's a very important video because two things. One, there are several forums that address this topic but have no conclusion. Okay, and it's kind of fucking crazy making. And if you've searched for this medication and this illness, you've come across these forums and you've probably been a little frustrated too at the lack of testimonial as far as results go. It's literally like one guy's like, okay, I'm going to try it and I'll let y'all know how it works. And then it's a year later and nothing. Actually, it's like fucking 2 years later now. A post from 2016 that just never got wrapped up. That's on Reef to Reef and stuff like that, you know? Now, the other reason is because there's a YouTuber named Scott Anderson. He's got Mile High Reefers. Good name for a channel. I'm guessing he lives in Colorado or someplace up there. Yeah, Mile High. Yeah. Well, he's got what you call like not like an outbreak level infestation, but like a manageable infestation of, I think it's velvet. I'm not sure, but those fish definitely have something, and it's not good. But velvet, Brookenella, many different types of sea lice, parasites can cause these kind of symptoms. Okay. Some of them are even so big you might see them as copepods on the glass, and your mandarin might eat them and also be getting infested with them. In fact, in a sick way, that's seems to be kind of how they reproduce. They want the fish to eat them, and then they have like this intestinal worm problem, and then they'll shit. They'll have stringy poo. Do your fish have stringy poo, Mr. Anderson? Oh, I just realized that. I can call you Mr. Anderson. Okay. I really hope that Scott Anderson watches this channel. If you are, hi Scott. Welcome to the Lost Begotten channel. You know, pay attention to the other shit I talk about on here at your own risk. But best YouTube channel ever. I wanted to talk specifically to Scott Anderson because I imagine there's a lot of people with reef tanks in similar situations. Okay. The thing about Scott Anderson, and I guess it's the reason why he doesn't know how to keep a proper quarantine set up. You don't. Just admit it. You don't. Okay, and your glass bottom, no substrate. No substrate. Okay. You need to stress the fish out a little bit. You can't have the perfect environment for them. If you have the perfect environment for them, they're not going to show any signs of an illness. And you're just going to let that symptomless fish carrying that illness right into your tank thinking everything's fine. That's why you don't keep substrate in the tank. And because you need to clean out the ick when you find it. But that fish, it needs to de-stress environment-wise. It needs to have, you know, some lowered salinity. It doesn't need to have like ammonia toxicity. You need to keep, you know, having some sort of medication in there to keep the ammonia from spiking, you know. And, I use bacterial supplements like Pristine, okay? Or, what's the older one? Uh, Damn it, I forgot the name of it because I just decided I don't like it anymore. But I use Pristine, Seachem Pristine, but you can use just about any bacteria in a bottle, okay? And what those are made for is for, like, those bacteria are actually developed for sanitation, for water supplies, okay? And there's been a lot of different evolutions of different bacteria that we found in aquariums, and they're added to the more modern, like, instant cycle ones. But the older ones are actually the ones that you want to use for a quarantine tank because they're more resistant to medications. And each time you switch a medication, or as soon as you add a medication, you need to add a bacterial supplement to your quarantine tank. That will keep the ammonia from spiking too much. And then from there, you use either Stress Guard or Seachem Prime, depending on whether or not you actually need the fish medicated. I usually use Stress Guard because it's Stress Guard. It's a new fish. You're trying to de-stress it. But you're not trying to make the fish have perfect conditions, okay? You want to have nice low light for the first couple days, no light for the first day, no light for the first day. Don't put a light on that damn fish, especially if it got shipped there, okay? Just to inspect it, use a dim light and use it briefly, and try to start that light slow, you know. Do what you can to bring it in slow. Hold it behind your head and come in with it over the fish tank like that. Okay? That's when you get new fish in. But if you got a big reef tank like Scott Anderson set up, okay, you're not going to catch all them fucking fish. That's why Scott Anderson has all that shit in his tank. And that's why I ain't mad at him, okay? I wish you'd take down the videos where you don't know what you're talking about and, have the humility to take the financial hit and stop giving bad advice to people. And there's a lot of videos like that, and I don't mean to be all butthurt about it, but I give proper advice on my videos. I get a fucking 40 views, okay? And there's guys getting hundreds of thousands of views on anemone videos, and they can't even say the fucking word anemone. Okay, Mark. I like to fuck with people. I'm not a prick. I just like to fuck with people. But anyways, Mr. Anderson has one of the most beautiful Manipura tanks I've ever seen. He's got the Digitata Mani little combo thing in the back. I love that one. That's my favorite one. And of course, the Ophelia Garden just makes me, just drool. Because I've never had much luck with Euphilias. I always wind up having, like, they do well for a while, and then, like, I don't clean my power head or something. The flow goes wrong, just something fucking goes wrong. But then I've never really had a big enough reef tank to let Euphilias grow and do their thing. I'll have, like, a little bit of coral growth, and then suddenly my flow is all fucked up. I gotta constantly, like, bonsai prune my shit. But now I have a big, gigantic 55-gallon, and I don't know what to do with it. Scott Anderson's tank, I think, is 500 gallons. It's got like a 300-gallon sump and tub. Just like fucking... Check out his shit. What he's going to need to do is get some water change shit ready. Okay? Pull anemones only. And I would pull any anemone-like things. Like, I would pull my Duncans. If I had Duncans. I might pull Euphilias just because of their meaty meat-eating polyp, right? I think it's more to do with the digestive tract than it is the zooxanthellae. Okay, so bear that in mind when choosing what corals to move. If it has a similar digestive tract to an anemone, I would move it. The reason being is I don't think it necessarily affects the anemones directly. But whether you know it or not, there are a massive amount of microbes in your tank, protozoa, uh, dinoflagellates that don't harm your fish. Those are all going to be wiped out. And your anemone has like a vitamin, a steady vitamin intake, a steady nutrient intake from that plankton in your tank. Otherwise, your anemone's not happy. If you have a happy anemone, you have fucking plankton in your tank. Okay, probably even have phytoplankton, whether you know it or not. There's a little bit of like just Gulf of Mexico fucking type phytoplankton. Anyways, all that stuff is no longer going to be feeding that anemone, and it's going to starve on a different level than what you can provide food for it. So you can feed it a meaty food, but it's not getting that planktonic based nutrient that it needs all throughout the day. Okay, and I really think there's a difference in how they digest different foods, and as far as like one practically gets digested through their breathing spaces. Okay, almost like internal filter feeding. But the other is just a hole with some fucking chemistry going on there. Now, I'm pretty sure he's already Scott Anderson is already medicating his fish. That's good. Okay. But to medicate the tank, you need to try the Metroplex. And I would recommend like a full 30 days. Now the problem is the protein skimmers. And with the amount of fish that he has in that tank, he needs them. So what I would do is dose in the mornings, right before your lights come on. Like turn the protein skimmers off and dose in the morning. And then when the lights are starting to go out, turn the protein skimmers back on. And so on. What this will do is allow the concentration of the medicine to be right at the point when the ick spores would hatch out. Okay? If it's ick. If it's an ick-like thing. Okay, and that's worth trying. If it's bacterial, if it's intestinal, like these could be things that are just spread by ambient fish poo and then swim up back into the fish. Feeding the Metroplex in with the food, gonna work wonders. But for bacterial type things like Bruchinella seems to be to me. It seems to be like a flesh-eating disease. Metronidazole will cure that in the water. It will go right down into the whatever dead spots you have and kill it there. And it's a multi-pronged approach that, if done properly and persistently, is probably Scott Anderson's best bet of keeping his 10-year-old clownfish alive. I love clownfish. That's really the reason why I'm making this video, is to help him save his clownfish. But if anybody else has a similar giant reef tank situation where it's just not practical to pull the fish out, and you want something you can dump in that tank right now that'll help within fucking 24, 48 hours. Where is it? Seachem Metroplex. Now, if your corals show any sign of deterioration, any sign of stress, you have two options. You can pull them out, or you can do water changes on a daily basis to reduce the level before it fades. Okay, so what you do is, in that case, turn the protein skimmer off in the morning, add the medication. When the lights start to get dim, then you do your water change. And then, you know, every day you'll have a period where it's swimming around, you got medication in the water. When the lights are starting to fade, there's not going to be any more cysts hatching, then you do your water change. Okay, so then you only have those periods of the day where there's concentration of this, and that should help sensitive corals that can't be moved survive the at least 2 weeks, man. At least 2 weeks that you need to do this. But if you really want to make sure, especially if you don't run your tank above 78 degrees, give it a whole month. Give it the whole fallow period that you would think you would need. Okay? This is like basically a fallow substitute. It needs to run that whole fallow period that you would need at your given temperature. So people with tanks up north, they set their tanks to 78 degrees, okay? But those tanks have spots in them where they regularly, drop to 73, 74, okay? Those spots are going to take 4 or 5 weeks before the termites or whatever's in there hatches out. So keep that in the water, and the fact that it's powdered, I would think it would form at least a few concentrations in dead spots. It doesn't say to pre-mix it up, it just says to put the powder in your fucking tank. So focus. To minimize loss during feeding, use with Seachem Focus. That's the one that you use to attach this to the food. For use in ornamental aquariums only, not for human consumption. And on that bombshell, it's time to end. So, please, if somebody doesn't mind, before I can find a fucking social media device and share the previous video, share this video and the other video with Scott Anderson for me on Mile High Reefers. And if you like the video, make sure you click the like button. If you don't like the video, you're just a bad person on the inside.